role has forgiveness played in your life?
Well, that's really evolving. Forgiveness, conceptually to me, is the ability to accept someone or accept myself enough to let go of a judgment of something that I've done in my life. Forgiveness equates to me to actions that we take in our lives. And when we make a mistake, the opposite of forgiveness is judgment and berating and what were you thinking and all of those things. And every thought has an associated energy to it. And when I'm in that place of anger towards myself or anything that has a negative bent to it, where I'm pounding emotionally, mentally on myself, I'm just decimating my energy level. And I realized about, I'm going to say 25 years ago, that there was a choice that I could make about an action that I had already taken, and I could forgive my judgment of the action. And what I mean by that is, I remember I was in a deal, and we were going to buy the property. And they were lovely people. They were clients, and they were older, and this was their home. And I tried to sell it for years and years and years, and we kept leasing it. We couldn't sell it. And finally, I said, "There's an upside to this house, and let's buy it." And I had a friend who was looking to buy a house with me, and we were gonna renovate it and turn around and sell it. And the one thing I didn't do, I didn't tell the seller that I was buying it to renovate it. I gave them more money than they ever received. They were thrilled in the moment to receive that. But the learning was I needed to tell them, legally, ethically, I needed to tell them that I was buying the house with this other person and we were going to renovate it. And I didn't know that I had a legal obligation to do it. I knew that I should tell them, but I was like, And then I was with my partner, should I tell him? Nah, we won't tell him. And we closed. But I didn't think that much of it that I didn't record a document that says that we were the ownership interest. And I recorded it before we closed. And there are all sorts of, details about a real estate transaction that I don't want to bore you with. But the bottom line was, I needed to tell them, and I didn't tell them. And I knew that I should have told them. And when they sued us, because I didn't tell them, I went through self-consternation, guilt, anger at myself. What an idiot that I was. And now I had it front and center in my face day after day, because when you're in a lawsuit, you don't just forget about that. And so every day I had the opportunity to beat myself up because I knew what I should have done and I didn't do it. And we settled that lawsuit. But it took me a period of time before I could come to terms with what I'd done, why I did it, why I didn't choose to act the way I knew I should have acted. And when I started to forgive myself, to realize, Nick, you did the very best you could with what you knew, and you've the other pressures that were externally influencing you why you did or didn't tell them. But at the end of the day, I got so much awareness, and I have so many gratitude learnings as a result of the fact that I made a mistake and that I owned up to that mistake and paid what I needed to pay on that level. And I look at that experience as such a blessing in my life, because I learned so much about when I know internally what I should do and how I get influenced by others. It brings me much more into a place of centeredness that, Nick, you act in your integrity, you act the way you know to act, and what other people think, that's on them. And when I make a mistake, there is a glorious opportunity to forgive myself for whatever that action was. And in that, there's a great freedom that comes on the other side of forgiveness.